From a Polish Air Force F-16 that never pulled out of its dive during an air show rehearsal, and an Indonesian 737 that slammed into the runway so hard its landing gear collapsed, to a Beechcraft 55 pilot who was forced to emergency land on a busy highway, and much more. Here are some of the craziest aviation moments caught on camera. The Radom Air Show is one of Central Europe's biggest aviation events. Held every 2 years in the city of Radom, about 60 miles south of Warsaw, the show typically draws crowds of around 180,000 people. The 2025 edition was scheduled for the 30th and 31st of August, with over 100 aircraft set to perform. On the evening of August 28th, the Polish Air Force's F-16 Tiger demo team was rehearsing their routine at Radom Airport. The Tiger demo team is the official F-16 display squadron of the Polish Air Force, based out of the 31st Tactical Air Base in Poznan. At the controls was Major Maciej Krakowian, callsign Slab. He was the leader of the F-16 Tiger demo team and had over 1,400 flight hours under his belt, with roughly 1,200 of those in the F-16. Just weeks earlier, he'd won the crowd-voted as the Crow Flies trophy at the Royal International Air Tattoo in England. At around 7:25 p.m. local time, he entered a steep maneuver over the runway. Footage captured in the moments before impact shows the F-16 descending sharply with its afterburner still glowing. He never pulled out of the dive. The jet struck the runway and erupted into a fireball. Major Krakowian did not eject. Emergency crews rushed to the scene, but there was nothing they could do. Krakowian was just 37 years old, leaving behind a wife and twin sons. It was the first time Poland had ever lost an F-16. The tragedy happened on Polish Aviation Day, turning a day of celebration into one of mourning. Organizers immediately canceled the air show. The cause of the crash remains under investigation. Interstate 95 is the longest north-to-south highway in the United States, stretching over 1,900 miles along the East Coast. On any given evening, tens of thousands use it to commute home from work. The last thing you'd expect is a plane dropping out of the sky and landing onto the car in front of you. This is exactly what happened on December 8, 2025. At around 5:45 p.m., a Beechcraft 55 carrying two 27-year-old flight instructors reported engine trouble over Brevard County, Florida. The pilot needed to put her down fast.
Bro, I have chops, I swear.
Holy shit!
Oh my goodness. 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 A plane just crashed onto a
highway.
On a highway right
we're
in
gonna
front
pull
of us.
off, and we're
Holy shit.
The plane dropped out of the sky, straight onto the roof of a Toyota Camry, before coming to rest against the median barrier. The 57-year-old woman behind the wheel of that Camry said she was so dazed, she thought a semi-truck had rear-ended her. She didn't even notice the airplane sitting right in front of her car. Thankfully, both the pilot and passenger walked away without a scratch. The 57-year-old woman was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Remarkably, this was the second small plane to crash land on a Central Florida road that same day. A Cessna 172 had gone down near DeLand just a few hours earlier. Birds and airplanes have never gotten along. According to the FAA, over 10,000 bird strikes are reported each year in the United States alone. That's roughly 26 per day. On January 25th of 2025, a UPS MD-11 freighter is preparing to depart Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport, or SDF, hauling cargo en route to Phoenix, Arizona. Right as the aircraft began taking off, a large flock of birds flew past the plane. There was no stopping the takeoff at that point. Against all odds, not a single bird was sucked into any of the three engines. The plane continued its climb to about 32,000 feet, but the crew decided not to push their luck and landed safely back at SDF. Runway 17R had to be shut down as the ground crew had to clean up over 100 birds scattered across the tarmac. The aircraft sat on the ground for over 38 hours while crews inspected the damage. Thankfully, no one was injured, but the bird strikes were serious enough to keep the plane grounded until they were confident she was safe to fly again. The Airbus A321XLR is one of the newest planes in the sky. It's a narrow-body jet with the legs of a wide-body, capable of flying nearly 10 hours on a single tank. Aer Lingus, Ireland's national airline, took delivery of one of the first in December of 2024. They named her St. Mella. On December 13th of 2025, St. Mella was operating a flight from London Heathrow to Dublin, a routine hop across the Irish Sea. But strong, gusty winds at Dublin Airport had other plans. St. Mella slammed into the runway, registering a force of 3.3 Gs, far above safe limits. For reference, a normal landing sits around 1.1 to 1.4 Gs. Most commercial jets are built to withstand about 2.6 Gs before things start to break. Our pilot blew right past that number. Thankfully, everybody on board walked away unharmed. However, St. Mella's landing gear wasn't so lucky. Inspection determined the entire assembly was beyond repair and needed a complete replacement, a multi-million-euro repair bill for an aircraft that hadn't even celebrated its first birthday. On August 13th of 2025, Typhoon Podl was tearing through Taiwan. Winds were gusting up to 36 knots, or 41 miles per hour, battering planes attempting to land at Taipei's Taoyuan International Airport. A UPS Boeing 747-8 freighter was inbound from Hong Kong on what's normally a quick hour-long hop, but they had been circling Taipei's Taoyuan International Airport for over an hour, trying to put her down. They attempted 2 approaches to runway 05L. Both times, the crosswinds won, forcing them to go around. On their third landing attempt, they committed. The 747 crabbed through the gusts and touched down, but the wind caught the right wing at the worst possible moment. A shower of sparks erupted into the night sky as the outermost engine pod scraped against the runway. Thankfully, the plane didn't require any emergency assistance and taxied off the runway under their own power. All 3 crew members walked away without injury. The damage, however, was hard to miss. The engine nacelle took the brunt of the impact, with one of its cowlings ripped clean off. The right wing and fuselage sustained serious damage in multiple areas. The aircraft was grounded for 23 days while repairs were carried out before resuming normal operations. LaGuardia Airport in New York City is one of the busiest airports in the country. It's also one of the most notorious amongst pilots. Short runways, water on 3 sides, and approach paths that twist over the city make it a challenge even for experienced pilots. On August 20th of 2016, United Airlines Flight 1958 was inbound from Houston, Texas, carrying passengers on a Boeing 737-700. The crew was cleared for a localizer approach to runway 22, circling to runway 13. In simple terms, they had to line up for one runway, then make a low-altitude turn and land on a completely different one. It's one of the more demanding maneuvers a pilot can pull off. And on this evening, our pilot didn't quite nail it. As the 737 came in for landing, it wasn't properly aligned with the runway. The plane banked too steeply and never quite straightened out. The wingtip scraped against the runway, and the bottom part of the winglet was left dangling off the end. Despite part of the wing missing, the crew initiated a go-around. Thankfully, everybody on board was okay, and the 737 was grounded for 15 hours while ground crew inspected the damage and replaced the broken winglet. On January 26, 2026, a British Airways A350-1000 was preparing for departure out of Harry Reid International Airport in Las Vegas, headed for London Heathrow. About 15 seconds into the takeoff, as the gear retracted, one of the rear wheels on the right side broke free and tumbled back down to the airfield below. Despite the missing wheel, the pilots decided to continue their flight over the Atlantic. The A350-1000 is equipped with 14 wheels in total, 2 up front on the nose gear and 12 on the mains, 6 per side, split across 2 massive bogies. Losing one of them might sound terrifying, but doesn't pose any serious danger. Around 9 hours and 17 minutes later, the plane touched down at Heathrow without any further issues. Nobody on the ground in Vegas was hurt, and the loose wheel was recovered from the airfield. The aircraft has been grounded for inspection ever since, and British Airways says they're cooperating with investigators to figure out what went wrong. NASA only has 3 WB-57 research jets. These Cold War-era birds can fly above 63,000 feet, nearly twice the altitude of your average commercial airplane. They've been used for everything from hurricane research to filming rocket launches from the sky. On January 27th of 2026, one of those 3 irreplaceable jets ran into trouble while returning to Ellington Field in Houston, Texas. A mechanical issue prevented the landing gear from deploying. The pilot had no wheels and no choice but to put her down on the belly. One of the 2 crew members climbed out and actually walked around the plane to inspect the damage before heading to an ambulance. Thankfully, both crew members walked away without any injuries. As for the jet itself, it's unclear whether it'll ever fly again. And with only 2 WB-57s left in service, that's a big deal. On January 28th of 2026, Philippine Airlines Flight 684 was preparing for a long-haul trip from Manila to Doha, Qatar. The Airbus A330 lined up on runway 06 and got the green light from air traffic control. Our pilots released the brakes and spooled the engines up to takeoff thrust. But just as the engines hit full power, our cameraman witnessed something terrifying. Streaks of flame shot out of the engine as it suffered a compressor stall, leaving passengers shaken up. Thankfully, the plane was still at low speed, and the crew were able to reject the takeoff. They brought the big bird to a stop on the runway and taxied back to the apron under their own power. Everybody on board was safe, and they hopped on another flight a few hours later. Wamena Airport sits over 5,000 feet above sea level in the highlands of Papua, Indonesia. There are no instrument approaches here. Pilots have to eyeball it every single time. Low clouds, mountains on all sides, and a short runway make it one of the trickiest strips in the world. On September 13th of 2016, Trigana Air Flight 7321 was hauling about 15 tons of fuel, rice, and sugar from Jayapura to Wamena in an old Boeing 737-300 freighter with 3 crew members on board. As they began their visual approach to runway 15, the weather was not in their favor. Cloud cover had dropped to just 100 feet above the ground, and visibility was well below the airline's own minimums for the approach. The first officer suggested a go-around, but the captain wasn't having it. He'd watched 2 planes land ahead of him without issue, so he figured he could do the same. The 737 broke through the clouds steep and fast, and the crew pitched the nose down, trying hard not to overshoot the runway. The plane slammed into the tarmac at a vertical rate of 2,300 feet per minute. That's 3.25 Gs, nearly 4 times what the landing gear was designed to handle. Both main gear legs collapsed on impact. Luckily, the 3 crew members were able to walk away unharmed. The 737-300, however, was a total write-off.